going to start in 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Never Too Late, Real Stories of Reinvention, where we share the stories of dream chasers, career changers, and people who have had the courage to reinvent themselves or take a different path in life. I'm Eric Cooter, and each episode I sit down with someone who's taken a leap, discovered a new path, and found joy in the unexpected. These conversations are about hope, resilience, and they remind each of us that it's never too late to chase your dreams. Well, welcome listeners. This is going to be our next episode with a new guest, Susan Robbins. Susan is a retired law enforcement officer turned epigenetic human performance coach and lifestyle expert. Can you tell I'm reading this? After facing chronic illness and a series of life-changing events, she discovered the science of epigenetics and its power to transform how we live, age, and heal. Through her company, Healthy Awakening Epigenetic Coaching, Susan now helps others align lifestyle, mindset, and biology to live with greater vitality and purpose. Now, Susan and I, she was referred to me by a dear friend and a past guest, a mutual friend, Father John Tolles. John, if you're listening, thanks so much, brother. Appreciate all that. Yay. And I'm so glad. Yay, John. And I'm glad that he did. And I'm glad to be able to share Susan's story with us because she definitely has a story of courage and curiosity and a relentless pursuit of answers and purpose. So let's get started. Susan, tell us a little bit about you. The floor is yours, my friend. Let's start with that. How's that?
Thank you for having me on.
It's not on my list of questions.
Right? No, I appreciate you having me on, Eric, and Father John. Thank you for the connection. I adore you. I don't know if I've had so much courage. I think for me, it's just lack of planning. Just kind of going for it, might as well, right? Come to find out that is exactly how I'm genetically created. Very much a spontaneous person. I don't tend to think things through as much. And that's kind of where I've made some really good decisions more recently and some probably really poor decisions when I was younger. I really spent, honestly, a lot of my life trying to figure out what my purpose is, what I'm supposed to be doing here. I had a close call with death in 1991. And after I came out of that, I wondered, why did I live through that? And it's been a question in my mind for how many years now? Over 30 years, 34 years. And I really kind of searched. I didn't really feel much like I belonged a lot and wanted to just fit in. So I dabbled in a lot of different things until I was in the corporate world at the time in telecom when it was the big boom in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Oh, yeah.
And in a horrible marriage to a diagnosed narcissist. I mean, could things get worse? And I remember I came home from work one day and had a phone call from my dearest childhood friend from her mother saying to call back. And I just got this sinking feeling. And this was the end of August in 2001. Okay. And I hated my job at the time. I was selling space on cell phone towers. It was awful. I traveled. I had 9 different states. I traveled. It was when I got the job, it was supposed to be a different job with this company where it was maybe once a month travel. Oh no, it was like every week. And I hated it.
Oh, yeah. It
was just not satisfied anywhere. And so I get this call and she had passed away. She had been fighting breast cancer and I hadn't heard. I thought everything was fine. It had been going on for about 5 years and she had been doing really well at one point. And it literally floored me. I hit the floor and sat there and sobbed. And my wonderful husband at the time would not go to Florida. And I was living here in Colorado at the time. And he wouldn't go with me. And he said, you go, you can go. You'll be fine on your own. So I flew down there. And when I went to her funeral, there were so many people there. And she had been a nurse. And I think she was a home health nurse at the time. And all of these people saying, God, she just made such a difference to me. And I'm going, I don't make a difference to anybody.
Wow.
I'm selling cell phone tower service, and I
Yeah.
hate it.
Yeah.
And so that started the ball kind of rolling in my head as I came back. I was like, this is what I want. I want to make a difference.
Right. Right.
And then 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, 9/11 happens. Now, I grew up
Oh,
on the East Coast. We used to go to class trips to New York City. I've been on the
right.
top of the Twin Towers many times in my life.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I had friends that were working downtown at the time, so I'm frantically trying to reach them. And that those two events within those couple of weeks of each other were my pivotal points for the first change I made.
Yeah.
Because I said I could have been on one of those planes.
Yeah.
I need to learn how to protect myself, protect others, and I want to make a difference. So
Right.
that's when I went into doing ride-alongs with a couple of friends who were police officers here in Colorado. And I remember Joe Gutzel, I'm going to give you a shout out here. My good friend Joe, we're still friends 30 years, 29 years later. And he said, Susan, it's common sense. But he said, you go to Aurora's academy, get into Aurora. At that time, Aurora had like one of the best academies, military style, 27 weeks. He's like, get in there.
This was a police
To
training
be a
academy?
police officer. Yeah, a police
Gotcha. Okay.
academy.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So I went to do the test, the written test. There were over 400 of us to there for the written test. And then you went and got in a line to go do the fitness test after it.
Uh-huh.
And they show up like an hour later with results. And because it was literally a written test in an auditorium. Okay, this was
Right.
2002. And I was 36 at the time. So I was no spring chicken. And I remember standing in line and they send one piece of paper down the line. And if your name was on it, you do the walk of shame because you didn't pass the written.
Oh, no.
Right? And I was there with two former military people, an Army guy and a Navy girl. And I remember it so vividly. She was standing with chewing tobacco in her lip. And, just like these funny things you remember with these
Oh,
pivotal
yeah.
moments in your
Yeah.
life,
Yeah.
right? And we sat there talking, both of them, walk of shame. And I'm like, oh my
Oh,
God, my name
no.
was not on that list. Thank you, God, right? Passed the fitness, the obstacle course without an issue. Like that was the easy part. And that started, there were 38 of us that got in and then some
Out
laterals,
of
but 38 of
400.
us out of over
Wow.
400. Yeah, it was the
Wow.
getting in process. I mean, it was background, psych, one of the longest, it was like an 8 hour medical workup. I was running on treadmills, so much blood, like that they're like, go drink water. We can't get anything out of you. I mean, it was so crazy. I had to take another part. I was like, I need out of this corporate world. That job was awful. And uh it, I took a part-time job with a friend of mine working in her
Uh-huh.
chiropractic office just so I could get up and go anytime I needed to for these
Right.
tests that went on for a couple of months. And so yeah, May of '02, cut my hair. Like it's pretty long. I cut it, went to Great Clips and said, just do it till it just sticks up. I like buzzed it.
Oh, my
Just a little bit
gosh.
longer than a buzz. Because they're like, you
Yeah.
can't look at this thing. And they're like, you can't put any gel in there. So I'm going, that's it. Just there's no way I'm going to tame this. Yeah, so I came out like almost a little GI Jane kind of looking head.
Oh,
And it was like,
wow.
well, that's a close cut there. and yeah, and that's when that journey started. And I just kind of never looked back. I felt like, I was drawn to that. Here I could serve. And when different instructors would come in to the classroom and say, why are you here? And I don't want to hear, and he literally said, I don't want to hear any of this BS, using the words, of anybody just saying, I want to help people. I'm like, I actually do. I want to make a difference because
Right.
the pay was so low at the time.
Yeah.
Like it definitely, was less than half of what I was making in the corporate world. So it wasn't a
Sure.
monetary jump.
Right.
But I literally wanted to help people.
Right.
And so that was my first big change in my life. And now as I
Wow.
learn about myself, how I'm created, very reactive, quick thinking, challenge. I was first, I graduated number one in the academy in the fitness area. I wasn't
Hmm.
number one overall, I was 15th, but I had the highest overall fitness score of the men
Wow.
and the women, and I was the second oldest, which shocked me. But
Wow. That's
now again,
incredible.
I find out like natural athlete and all of that stuff was just made for me, and that was my
Yeah.
challenge. I
Yeah.
loved it,
Yeah.
and I still maintain those fitness standards, if not better, today. But yeah, that was. And I was in law enforcement for 14 and a half years, married a guy from Montana, divorced the crazy guy in during the academy. It was the only time I ever broke.
Wow.
Um, and so I left. Then a year later, I ended up moving to Montana, and that's where I ended up retiring. Um,
Now, how long did you serve in law enforcement, did you say?
I
I'm
was
sorry.
14 and a half years.
14 and a half years. Wow.
Yeah, I ended up my last 10 and a half, I was assigned to work with public housing, and I was in a small town in Montana, but we had three public housing projects, and two of them were family projects.
Right.
Um, and so I ended up doing a lot of crimes against children. And
Okay.
so going to a lot of those trainings, and I didn't get to use it, which I'm kind of thankful that others did the interviews, but I became a child forensic interviewer, which was some of the hardest training
Wow.
emotionally I've ever been through in my life.
Yeah.
And that it really affected me. I was very hyper vigilant and made a lot of enemies in town. Hyper vigilant. Didn't go anywhere without my gun. Thought my cat was going to be in a pot of boiling water when I got home one day, or that I was going to get jumped
Yeah.
in my bushes. And it's just a lot of. I literally saved some lives.
Yeah.
Made the difference, but I didn't like who I was becoming. And the
Yeah.
negative energy was really affecting me. And this is when all my health things started as well. So
Gotcha.
I knew something had to change. And I
Yeah.
was very fortunate to be able to getting into the health coaching because of my health issues the year before. I was like, it's time. I knew I was going into the academy later in age, and I
Hmm.
didn't know if I'd make the 20. I went in with every intention of the full 20, but I
Right.
knew that if and when it was time to leave, I would know.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that too. You get to a point, like in my time in ministry, I went in late, which is not unusual in the tradition I'm a part of to go into ordained ministry later. But you get to a point where you're doing something that you weren't originally called to do.
Mhm.
I started out as a parish priest, but I wound up serving on bishop staffs and eventually in a role that put me as the bishop's police officer. you know,
It's
I had to
not
do
for
the thing.
everyone.
No, it's not. It's not. I mean, I had to do some of that. I had to do some of the jobs that, most bishops don't, they're not fully equipped to deal with sometimes. And anyway, so I get it. I get that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, what do you think that experience as a police officer, what did you learn about people and yourself and just how did that influence you and who you are now and who you're becoming?
Yeah, I think about people, I learned that there's some really bad people out there who do
Yeah.
really bad things to not only themselves or other people, themselves, animals. Um, but I also learned there's some really good people out there too.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't come across people at their best times.
No. Yeah.
So I tended to see, more of the bad, but again, when you see that someone can come out of a situation better, and I'm going to tell you this really quick story. There was a guy in town, and he hated me. Apparently I was the cause of all his things that happened, and I saw him. I mean, and he literally was like a killer. If I get her,
Mm.
like, I'll kill her. And he was one that I genuinely thought would kill me anytime if he was given the chance. And last year, this is in the middle of the summer, I saw a mutual friend up there, one of the firefighters. He had commented on his page. And I thought, I haven't seen him well, I'm going to click on his profile.
Yeah.
And I see he's doing all these running activities. He totally cleaned himself up. I mean, this guy
Wow.
was into bad drugs, very violent. Had run over his girlfriend's leg, car, like just bad dude. And God, just he needs help. But when I left, he was still going down that horrible abyss. Well, I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, Ryan, You see what it is, I was like, dude, I have to say, I have to give kudos where kudos are deserved. And I see that you've cleaned yourself up and that you're like being a good example to your children. And I salute you. And I'm really glad we didn't kill each other back in the day, And I thought I'll never hear from him. He messaged me right back, and he's like, "Wow, Susan, thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it. I'm glad we didn't kill each other either. Literally, it could have come down to that at some point." And he's like, "I needed to be a good influence for my children and get them back." So it taught me that there's good and bad, right? And that some people can change. Child molesters, sorry, don't believe you can change. I saw a lot of that, dealt with a lot of that. Resilience wise, that's been a huge part for me. Can't have thin skin. I was the only female up there for most of my career, other than like the first year. And they made it really hard on me. There were want ads in my drawer. Oh, they did everything they could to drum me out of there. And nice try. So for 12 and a half years up there, I hung in there, and it really taught me to just do my job. And I think the biggest other gift to me was the gift of that investigative brain, because that's what I bring into what I do now. Because I always say that things aren't always as they look on the outside. It was the same with any case you pull up on. Is this really what went down? Now I look at when I work with somebody and they say, well, I have this going on. Okay, but is this what this really is? Let's do the deep dive and really let's see what's happening here, because I guarantee you it's not because of this. So I learned a lot of things through that, but a lot about myself. Yeah. How strong I could be.
Isn't it amazing? I don't think God is the grand puppeteer that there's this, because we have a great part in the path that we take in our lives. I mean, we get to choose which path.
Freedom of choice, right?
Yeah. But I do think that the beauty of that option is that we have these opportunities to do things and be involved in things that, if we look at it, they're actually forming us in a new way.
100%.
Towards the purpose that we're called to live into.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, totally agree. And I'm still, today, even, I'm out on my walk today, and my prayer starting my day, and I'm just like, teach me, show me, guide me, God.
Yeah.
On where you want me to be right now.
Yeah.
Because that's who I'm. Some of these lessons I've been learning through this rekindled relationship with God that's stronger than anything I've ever experienced has been, instead of me trying to figure out what's my purpose and what do I want to do, it's what does he want of me? And it kind of takes some of that pressure off of me into trying to be and just letting things, going with it, listening, feeling into it. There's always signs.
Yeah.
And so that's been another big thing. And I'm telling I know, because I had close calls in law enforcement, and very close calls, one particular. And I just think of all the times, and it was the only time in my law enforcement career that I didn't have my vest on was when we almost got shot. To stop that bullet. But still, just the thought of it. And I always wonder, like, he's just not done with me yet. So what am I, what does he want with me now?
Yeah.
And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
And sometimes, and I've said this before, and I've experienced this too, that sometimes just being who we are every single day
is enough.
Is enough, because here's an example. I used to, when I was flying full time for a charter company, I'd go into these places and we'd get fuel, we'd pick up our passengers, blah, 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 blah. And we'd have the jet on the ramp, and the people that were fueling the aircraft would come up. And these are a lot of young folks usually. And, I'm saying, hey, what are you doing? Hey, I'm working on my commercial pilot's license. I'm like, yeah, but I'm really struggling. I'm not sure if I can do it. And I said, well, how old are you? And I'm like, 21 years old. And I'm like, wait a minute, listen, I'm 57 years old. If I can walk away from what I walked away from and chase the dream that I've had since I was 16 years old, and I can do it, what's stopping you? And just that may have been the spark that changed them. Just like the person you spoke of earlier, you don't know what influence you had on the gentleman that reinvented his life. And I say
Mm-hmm.
reinvented, changed his life.
Yeah.
But you may have.
Yeah.
You may
Yeah.
have. And you
I don't
don't know it,
know.
which is even
Yeah,
better
I
sometimes.
don't know. He just had to have that belief in himself that I think we
Yeah.
all do. He didn't say anything about faith, so I don't know if he found God at some point, but he found something that, like I think you had said in kind of the pre-questions, you asked about success and really what is success, right? Because so many put the label of success as I've made it, I've $1 million in the bank, two
Yeah.
million bucks,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And
And
is
they're
that
still
really
unhappy.
success? And they're still not happy, right?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that success? How do you define that? And that's been a really big question that I've been asking myself.
Yeah.
Is, what is successful? Is it my business? Is it my podcast? No. Is it I look at myself in the mirror and know that I'm living my life the right way. I don't have people in my life that I did
Mhm.
that were
Yeah.
not good for
Yeah.
me and my soul.
Yeah.
Just negativity and allowing God to come back in and like just fill yourself with the spirit. That is kind of where I am in defining success now, as
Mhm.
opposed to material or how elevated I am in the public or social media.
Right.
It's
Right.
more on the inside, I think.
Well, and we can chase those things, but to what end? I think that
Yeah.
the greater thing is our, and you said this earlier, is I think uh, maybe the word shouldn't be success. It's just, I'm chasing my purpose,
Hmm.
my
And
the pur-
peace.
and peace. Yeah, because I think when you
That's
find
the
your
biggest
purpose,
thing.
that's yeah, peace and joy.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's why we're created. I think that's the purpose of good news is that um, in being who I've created you to be and being whole and not living with masks, but just being fully who you are.
Hmm.
Um, that's where you can find joy and peace and purpose. So
Absolutely.
that'll
Yeah,
that'll
that's
preach.
right, right. And that's what I do with the epigenetics. And it's really that's what I said, like it's not I haven't reinvented myself. I've found who I am.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know why I am reactive, why I'm spontaneous. I run on adrenaline, testosterone, and then secondary is oxytocin. Why I've always needed people and felt like um, people say, well, Susan, you're needy. No, I realize that I need others. I did need others more to energize me, right? Because
sure.
that's how I'm
Yeah,
created. And I
yeah,
understand these things. And now I don't dial these things back
yeah.
like I've been told all my life, you're too much. And I've talked about this on my own podcast where people are like, oh my God, do you have to say this again? Well, yeah, but I'm on your podcast now, so I am. But it's true. I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay.
It is
I'm going to
okay.
be
Yeah,
the more powerful punch of tea. And not just a mild Earl Grey. If you
yeah.
want the mild Earl Grey, but if you want a nice spicy, maybe some
Right.
tea with a little cayenne in it, then you're gonna like
You're there.
you'll be okay with that cup of tea, and that's me, right? And the best part though is, and I see this with clients all the time, they're like, God, for the first time I feel like I have permission to be me. Why do we need permission to
Right.
be authentically us? And that's what draws people in. And when I see people that have new podcasts and all, I said the biggest thing is just be you,
Yeah.
because you can
Yeah.
have all the plastic surgery in the world. And you can be saying that you're doing everything right in your life and using every product, but people will see right through that. And they
Yep.
want to see people that are real and that own who they are and what
Yep.
they do, and that it's coming from the heart and not the pocketbook, that they're
That's
out here
right.
doing this for you.
Well, and
And
that's
yeah.
that's the reason I like the kind of guests that I have. These are just normal people that are doing
Mhm.
amazing things. It's amazing to me because I look at it and go, I've known you. We just met, but like I knew
Yeah.
you when you were doing this, and this is amazing. And I kind of saw glimpses of who they've become early on, and I could have you can make those connections. But
Yeah.
anyway, so we're going to
Yeah.
talk a little bit about epigenetics. No, we're going to talk a lot about epigenetics, and I wanted this might be a
Good.
good time to do
I
that.
love it.
And I know you were in law enforcement. You were. I think you'd mentioned that you were running through some problems with health during that led you to discovering
Yeah.
epigenetics. You want to talk a little bit about that connection and then jump into
Sure.
epigenetics?
Sure, because otherwise no one else will get like, how did you end up coaching from being a cop? Yeah, so while I was in law enforcement, I got Lyme disease twice. It
Hmm.
took 11 years to diagnose.
I've heard
And
that. Yeah.
it started
Takes a
out,
while.
the first time was a lot of cardiac. And doctors just would say to me, because I was putting on weight and I was having these PSVT, these tachycardia episodes, and I would get them at night sleeping like 162 beats a minute. I barely
Oh
do
my.
that hiking up a mountain.
Right.
And yeah, it was very frightening. I was a frequent flyer in the ER, and they're like, wait, we can't figure it out. And then I got it again. I never saw the bullseye or anything the first time, and most people don't. Over half people don't see a bullseye. Second time I did, but it was a hornet, so no one ever put it with Lyme because they think it's only ticks, but it's anything with a vector. So, and this second time was very much the connective tissue, the joints, the brain fog. I was a total
Okay.
mess, and no one could figure out what was wrong with me. Chronic fatigue, and here I am, like holding a weapon. So I missed a lot of days of
Oh
work because I
wow.
couldn't sleep.
Right.
And I thought it's not responsible to go out and carry a loaded weapon if I can't even think straight.
Right. Right.
So it was awful. Um, and I was doing CrossFit and CrossFit endurance after I would get off a 10-hour shift. So I was going at night, 6:30 at night for the endurance class. And like I said, just constantly fatigued, a lot of connective tissue injuries. Even the PT was like, I can't figure out. I'd be like covered in that sports tape, the rock tape for the
Right.
chiropractors. Like, something's up. Trying different ways of eating. Did at one point find a holistic nutritionist and saw that some diet things there were making a little bit of a difference. And then I found a fantastic naturopath who figured out at least the some part of it. And then after I retired, because I was exhausted.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, After I retired, well, so before I retired, actually, when I started with that one naturopath, she was like, "You're celiac. You have celiac," and I'm like, "Get out of here."
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I'd had a lot of gut issues, but I thought it was normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought it was
Yeah.
normal. My last
You have to know
husband used
what
to tease
you
me.
have to know what normal is before you can know what abnormal is,
I
right?
had no idea, right? Just like, yeah, I just eat a lot of fiber. No, it's not normal. And so I started getting into more of the like paleo was big, just coming out at the
Yeah.
time, and looking into all that, and it started to make a difference. I was like, oh my gosh, I am feeling better. Some of that brain fog went away. And so I would post a lot of things on Facebook and try new recipes, and I would have people commenting like, "Oh my gosh, you're helping me." And I thought, I don't know if I'm going to do this cop gig the rest of my life. And I'm loving getting into this other stuff.
Right.
So I literally did a search on my laptop and said, careers with fitness and food, and health coach came up. And I was like, oh, you just need a certification. Okay, so I enrolled for this
Right.
1 year online school, and that was in 2015. So I began in May of 2015, started working with some clients later that year. They want you to do it
Hmm.
about halfway through the program. And at that time, in September, in October of 2015, I was going to turn 50. And one of the guys, now, they do everything to get me out of there, but I'm very grateful they tried this one because one of the guys said, "Hey, Susan, you're vested at 50 here. You could retire early. Won't be
Oh
full, but
wow.
I go, all right, let me talk to my financial guy." He's like, "Yeah, go for it." I go, "I'm freaking out of here." Right.
Oh
So,
wow.
yeah, I was like, and they changed the law the next year. So it's no longer available. So again, timing, like, thank you, God, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so May of 2016, it was the same day that was my last day on the force, was the day I graduated health coach school. I had no business plan. Hell, 10 years in, I still don't. I had no business plan, no nothing. All I knew was I wanted to help people. I wanted to coach. And that's what I started doing. And that was basic holistic health coach. So still doing a lot of guessing. And I
Right.
thought paleo diet for everybody. It helped me get you off all the
Yeah.
junk, all the processed. And I would have, I was having success with people. Yeah, but then there were people. But then I ended up, long story short, so I left 2016. Did coaching for full time. in Montana, and I was all in person at the time.
Okay.
I didn't actually go video or online virtual until 2020 hit. So that was a whole other
Ah,
big change I had to do just
COVID
because of
connection. Yeah.
necessity, the
Yeah.
COVID,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
shutdown, right? So I was all in person at the time and loving it. And 2018, I went to get an MRI for what we suspected was a hip labral tear. And they talked me into getting, and I, in the meantime, the year before in 2016, had figured out that it was Lyme disease. That was the bane of my existence. And it took a year for me to feel good. And it was
Wow.
brutal. I had brutal reactions to the herbals and everything. And didn't know anything about detox systems. Like the things I know now, I go, oh my God, how'd I know back then? But again, I
Right.
didn't know. So you do what you do, with what you have. And cut to 2018 now. And I have this potential tear, and I said, I don't want any contrast. I just feel good after a year of intense Lyme stuff. And they said, this is so safe. You're going to be fine with it. And I don't know why I didn't investigate it, but I didn't. And within 8 hours of that contrast injection, I couldn't walk.
Oh my goodness.
No, the pain was like pain I've never felt in my life. And I just had an expert on in gadolinium deposition disease on my podcast. And it was fantastic back in September, Dr. Richard Smelka, because you think you're crazy and the doctors tell you you're crazy, but it deposits in the bone, the skin, and the brain. Couldn't think, couldn't sleep because the pain was unbearable in the bone, the nerve pain.
Was this a
It was
contrast
horrible.
was this a contrast for an
MRI.
MRI?
MRI.
Okay. Yep.
Yep. Listen to my podcast on
Yep.
that before you have a contrast
Yep.
injection,
Yep.
because there are people that are higher risk, and I was one of them and had no idea. And it was like the straw that broke the Susan's back. And I remember calling Father John and I said, am I being punished? Is God punishing me for something?
Mm,
Because I'm like dying here. I'm
mm.
literally dying and I don't want to die here because I hated Montana. I hated it there. I never fit in that little town. I mean, when they make fun of you because you're fit and they're all going to Dairy Queen, that's a problem, right? So
That's
I
a
didn't
problem.
fit. That's a
Sounds like my
problem,
hometown.
right? So came back here, ended up, that was and Father John talked me through it. He's like, no, God does not punish you. This is the
That
work of the
doesn't
devil,
work.
whatever.
Doesn't work that way.
No. And so I said, all right, well, if anything happens to me, I don't want to die alone here because I felt so alone up there.
Yeah.
And 15 years, it never felt home. And I'd been divorced for 10 of those last years. So I came back to Colorado because this is where I felt was home to me.
Yeah.
And came down, found a place, went back 3 weeks later. I moved here. And that's where I made my first decision to just take a chance.
Right. Right.
Right? Oh, my business will do great. Everybody's fit down there. Oh my God. It's like crickets because everybody, like people like to do things, but then they
Right.
like to eat crap and they like to drink like fish, the alcohol.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is going to be harder than I thought. And
Yeah.
then 2020 hits, like, things were finally picking up. And then 2020 hits and it was like, now I have to figure out how to do it all online. But that's how I ended up back here. And in 2019, health coaches are a dime a dozen and everybody's coaching everything. And I thought,
Sure.
how can I set myself apart? And I want to feel better than just okay. And
Sure.
I was still not feeling good. And my clients, I want to feel amazing and not
Right.
just okay or
Okay.
fine,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? I want
Yeah.
more. Again, how I'm created, more, optimal performance. And so I went to Paleo FX conference in Austin, Texas. And it was there that I found uh, it was a Huron Zoe group, and they had epigenetics through DNA testing.
Okay.
And I looked at functional medicine, but like everybody's doing functional medicine. And you know what? There's functional medicine practitioners. How can this is different? This is brand new stuff that nobody's
Yeah.
doing. And when I did my DNA test on myself, I was like, oh my God, this makes sense. I can see why I don't get rid of these toxins when you treat me, why all these things happen.
Sure.
Um, and so I started coaching with DNA testing. But I will tell you, DNA is probabilities and propensities. Okay, it's what we get from mom and dad.
Right.
And it's your lifestyle and environment affect how those genes express. And this is epigenetics. And
Okay.
people think that it's like, oh my gosh, I have the ApoE4 gene, and this is Alzheimer's and cardiovascular. I'm going to get that. You're not going to get it. Every choice you make is going to reflect on how that gene expresses, right? So this is why we
Gotcha.
do DNA to figure that out. Now, still a lot of guesswork. So end of 2020, so I become a level 2 Apeiron coach, and I mentored other coaches as well, was part of that level 2. And then I found another group that kind of found me at the end of 2020, looking to put a program together for high-powered athletes, and we're supposed to guinea pig on each other's things. Well, I was DNA, and this other group was, quote, epigenetics. Epigenetics, again, how lifestyle and environment affect how those genes express. And they said,
Okay.
we're all about the phenotype, and that's how everything is currently expressing, is your phenotype. And I thought, this is stupid. I do DNA. It's like, it's far superior to an AI-based thing that's got an app to it. And met with my coach, I had him, he was my first 2 episodes of my podcast because
Uh-huh.
he was just such a pivotal part for me. And, he asked me, so mate, and I hadn't really looked at it because I thought it was kind of stupid because I didn't know. And it's called PH 360. And he said, well, how are you feeling? I'm like, energy's not great. I'm doing CrossFit in the morning. He said, well, and I said, I'm holding on to some body fat. And he said, well, what time do you eat breakfast? And I said, well, I don't. I've been intermittent fasting for a year. And he said, not ideal for you. You're made for movement and you need to fuel that movement. You should be eating about 5 times
Wow.
a day. And I go, well, I'm going to get fat if I eat 5 times a day. And he's like, are you going to use this thing or not? He's like, we're supposed to use each other's things. Okay, I'll use it. And it blew my mind because it meets you where you are now.
Right.
It takes there's 15 layers of science built into this algorithm. And when I onboard somebody, we measure things like your skull, your jaw, your hands, your feet, your rib cage, your neck, and it's looking for inflammation. It's looking at waist to hip ratio. It's looking at the size of your hands and feet and your face shape so that it can tell us the predominant derm layer that developed in the womb and the predominant hormones that drive you. So I'm
Okay.
your short little muscular person. I'm 5'1". I just sound 7 feet tall. And we're in the CrossFit gyms because we are super competitive and need to see a whiteboard, right?
Right. Right.
And but I was living like someone who I'm what's called an activator. There's 6 different health types based on how you're formed in the womb. I was living like someone right across the circle from me, going to bed late, getting up late, eating twice a day. I was
Gotcha.
living
Okay.
a totally outside of how I was created to live, especially the timing. Chronobiology is something that you will not be hearing other professionals talk about. And it's doing what you're designed to do at the times you're designed to do it. Eating, sleeping, workouts, morning
Gotcha.
workouts where you
Right.
hear everybody get up first thing in the morning, kick it out. That can be more detrimental to some people than doing
Yeah.
nothing because it's too
Makes
much
sense.
cortisol for them in the morning and they need a slow start. I was the
Gotcha.
opposite. I would wait. Like I thought everything was evening. No, wrong. So yeah, and that's what I work with now. It showed me that this is how I am created. I'm loud and proud now. I'm in your face. I know how to work with that now, but the beauty is I understand how other people are created. And
Gotcha.
I can understand, usually I'll understand a client better than they understand themselves right away. And so it's feeling accepted for who you are
You're right.
when you understand that. And that was the biggest transformation for me. And what allowed me, after years of wanting to do podcasting or something, some kind of host and
Right.
get myself out there, was being too afraid. And now I said, okay, this is who I am. And the people that are going to be into this will listen to me. And those who don't, that's okay. But I want a platform where I can be authentically myself
Right.
and show other people to be themselves unapologetically. I mean, some things we need to work with that aren't positives that we might be more predisposed to, but so this is like having a user manual. So when I do DNA, that's your blueprint, and the PH 360 is the user manual to how everything's already expressing and how we want it to
So
express, and it changes with you.
so the DNA, and I've got lots of questions because I find this really intriguing. No, I really do because as you said something earlier, we have a commonality of a hip anomaly that I actually had some natural PRP that actually solved some of the problem, but we'll talk about that later. But it's interesting because I think a lot of folks don't have a clear understanding of who they are, and I'm talking about, and you're talking about at the DNA level. That's where I'm going. But even at a surface level, spiritually, emotionally, I'm an early morning riser. I like to get up at 5 o'clock. I have a high level of energy in that time in the morning. I'm creative at that time in the morning. I don't need a lot of fuel. I have a nice little cup of coffee. I do a little fuel thing going on. I don't need to eat very much until I get to midday, and then at night I can do a lighter. But I've learned that. But not a lot of people have that even sense of self-awareness. What it sounds like epigenetics is doing is it's not just emotional and spiritual, that kind of level. I'm going into your genetic makeup. So you're basically getting DNA data, because I love DNA stuff, because I did my own. I know it's not this, but I did my DNA through ancestry.com to find out what my connections are, and I thought that was so cool. But this is different. So you're looking at someone's DNA, you're looking at their genetic code. There's a lot of research that's been done on this in terms of the connections between the way someone is wired, the way someone is genetically predisposition to expressing the hormones or whatever that's in their body. And so you're helping to match a lifestyle. If I'm right, tell me if I'm wrong. You're trying to help them find a lifestyle and match a lifestyle that will help enhance joy. Am I on the right track? Am I?
Yeah, I think you're pretty close. And that's what it is. It's really, I think we spend so much of our lives fighting, what our bodies naturally want, because we listen to every influencer out there. We listen to all the quote experts, but they don't know you.
Right.
Right. And so again, and I see people on the Facebook pages, I lurk in there to make sure information is good. And I'm seeing a lot of people using ChatGPT now to diagnose things or look at DNA. But again, that ChatGPT does not know you and what's actually expressing, because you can look at a DNA snip and say, okay, so the big buzzword out there, MTHFR and methylation. Oh, I have an issue with MTHFR. I have to take these supplements. Well, you might not need that specific supplement. You might need a different one, or what's actually happening. So I like to get lab work to back things up. If you're prone to insulin resistance, is that expressing? If it is, then we want to dial that in. And it's not like people just automatically go to food and exercise. But again, are you eating the right things? Even you thinking you're dialed in. Are you eating the right things, but at the right time?
Yeah.
To be optimal. Because that's what I really look at is we want to be optimal, not just kind of I'm doing okay thing.
Right. I got you.
And okay, so then you have labs can help to back that up. And with the profile, again, it's not just food and exercise. You have work plays a major component in pretty much everybody's life at some point.
Right.
Are you doing those things at the right time? Are you using your brain when you're most creative at that right time, or detail oriented? Are you racking your brain when you're not able to be that detailed oriented, but yet you do this every day? Social is crucial.
Mm-hmm.
The right people.
Oh, yeah.
The right time. How many times a day? Some need that much more than others. And then you've got your surroundings. That's actually the top priority for one of the health types, is the surroundings. If they're chaotic, uncomfortable, it creates so much stress in them, and they're going to store more under stress. Yeah. And then you have, for 3 of the health types, it's mind is the top priority. One is to focus. The other 2 are to calm, because they have a very overactive central nervous system and very active brain. Yeah. So
interesting.
There's 6 health types, and then there's 6 priorities, and those priorities are in different order for all of the health types. Mine is the only one where fitness and food are the top 2. And nobody would realize that. And that's fitness is number 1. It's movement, because we are made to move, and then we have to fuel that movement. I burn on an average over 2,000 calories a day on the average. On a day where I go hike, and I hike 2 to 3 days a week, on the longer ones, like those days, I'll be 2,500 to 2,900 calories. I'm 5'1" and 116
Wow.
pounds. I'm little. And on a rest day, yesterday, I was very, very tired. The time change really got me. And
Oh yeah.
so I was not, didn't do well yesterday. I had to actually take a nap, and I still burned 1,900 calories yesterday.
Oh my goodness.
Right?
But see, we live in a society where people they don't have this kind of knowledge. They
They
don't have
don't.
any
They
there
don't.
and I love what you said. We are so constantly being fed with you need this pill or you need this car or you need this makeup or you need this
Yeah.
vacation or you don't even know me.
Yeah.
But
You have no idea.
you're actually giving people a tool and it sounds like and it just I've listened to your podcast and I hear your energy now and I hear your energy on your podcast and I always remember talking to a coach I had one time who basically said when you're talking about something you're very passionate about and you that fuels you your mind your spirit you shift.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, and I think there's what you're doing is you're taking it beyond just emotional, spiritual. You look at this holistic picture of someone and helping them to be optimal. I like that word, where you can actually be your best self, maybe is another way to look at it.
Absolutely. I think, how do I sign off my podcast? Get out there, make it a great day, and be your most authentic self, right?
Yeah. Oh, I like the, yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
that's what it's about. Because when
Yeah.
you're authentic, that's a big part of it. Because it's
Yeah.
really causing so much inner turmoil when you're out of flow. And that's all it is when people are like, something's off. I feel it. My weight's up, maybe my cholesterol.
Mhm.
Again, that's a whole other bear of a thing. Cholesterol,
Yeah.
but say my blood sugar's off, right? And I'll say, well, what kind of stresses do you have? Well, I'm not too stressed, but then they tell me that there's all this stuff going on at work, or they have a child that has major issues. I'm going, we think of stress as these big moments that happen that caused
Yeah.
us all this stress, but we have stress every single day, and it's just
Right.
anything that creates a reaction, right? So you and I talking, we're moving, we're
Hmm.
talking, we're thinking. It's a
Yeah.
stress on the body. It's eustress,
Yeah.
EUSTRESS. It's good stress.
Right.
Going in exercise is good stress. And
Right.
then we have the stressors that we know of that are, more negative, but you're never going to get rid of stress. And some people genetically actually need a little bit more stress,
Hmm. Yep.
too low stress for them, and they don't do as well cognitively.
Right.
So
I
stress
get
is a
that.
good thing. We just don't want to be too far, right? And again, I have
Right.
a very strong genetic reaction to stress. It could be just say an ex-boyfriend, right? Because I just had this happen. Sends an email, and I'm like, oh, or a text message, and immediately my heart goes bum 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 bum. Right? It's no different than when I was driving to the one day I could so vividly recall an active shooter at King Soopers.
Yeah.
My leg was jumping. It's not fear, anything. It is a stress response that I will feel so immediate, even the
Mhm.
smallest things.
Yeah.
And so I really have to work with that. But I understand where that comes from. And again, the more I just say, you don't know what you don't know until you know it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and it's an awareness of that. You know, you talked about stressors can be good or bad, and I agree with you 100%. Um, I I I don't think I think sometimes to move, to change, to move, you know, there needs to be some kind of stress, some kind of discomfort.
mm-hmm,
Uh, you know,
mm-hmm,
and so anyway, yeah, I think, but like you said, if it's too much, and not at the right time, or you're
big
not,
driver.
yeah, and you're not equipped to
Mm-hmm,
actually react to stress in a healthy way,
mm-hmm.
then it becomes detrimental to your body. Yeah,
Absolutely. Well, you're going to be driven when those cortisol levels go up too. You're going to be driven to eating crap. You're going to
yeah,
get the cravings for sugar. And I just jotted down. This is when I start taking notes. When you jotted had said about awareness, right? I think so many people are so out of touch because they're constantly swiping online, right?
yes,
It's what they do. They'll do it into the late hours of the night. It's just a constant swipe. So
yep,
you've got that, and that what does that do? That takes you out of you. And then
yeah,
you have the amount of alcohol that's being
hmm
consumed. Takes you the awareness away from you. the
Yeah.
drugs, all this legalization, all these things that people need to take them out of their reality
Right.
instead of sitting with that reality and finding comfort and saying, maybe I need to make some changes.
Yeah.
What's more comfortable? But the awareness is so minimal. And that's what I love when I'm working with people. And what I saw with myself was so much awareness, aware of, oh my gosh, I had no idea that my body is super taxed by alcohol and wind. And
Yeah.
not alcohol, sorry, altitude. Alcohol, I figured that out when I did the DNA and why I stopped drinking like
Right.
immediately. I don't
Yeah.
detox it, and I'm higher risk for Alzheimer's. Not worth it. Done.
Right. Right.
And then I've worked with people that are like, I don't care, I'm going to keep drinking. Okay, that's your choice. We all have choice, but DNA is not meant to diagnose, treat, or cure any illness or disease. It is meant to help you make better decisions in your lifestyle
Right.
moving forward. And every expert that I have had on, and probably like 60, 70 interviews over the last year and a half, and whether it's the gadolinium poisoning, whether it's Lyme disease, whether it's cancer, any of these experts have said lifestyle is the key. People don't
Yeah.
want to hear it. And that's the sad part. But I'm hopeful that there are still people that want to not look for quick fixes. These GLP-1 shots can be great for some people, but they're given out like candy right now.
Yeah.
And it's still not getting to the root cause of why are you inflamed. Too
Yeah.
much exercise can create
Oh,
inflammation that you.
wow.
Oh yeah, IL-6 and TNF alpha are two high inflammation DNA SNPs, and they're very big inflammatory markers, and they're released when we exercise, but in a positive way.
Gotcha. Okay.
But over
Hmm.
2 hours of intense exercise, that can actually make them pro-inflammatory. So,
Oh, wow.
oh yeah, and I will feel it because I'll do
Yeah.
long hikes, 5,
Yeah.
6 hours, and I'm
Yeah.
not slow. Like I go.
Yeah.
And if I don't get good recovery and I were to go out and do that again the next day, by day 3, I feel it in my joints. I don't
Oh, yeah.
sleep.
Yeah.
Very, like, you feel that inflammation coming on. And a lot of distance people don't realize like what they're doing, taxing their body. So you really need to like I found out I need to really up the antioxidants. When I'm up in the high altitude over 10,000 feet, I need to increase carbohydrate intake. I don't do my afternoon thyroid because it kind of makes me hyper and it overstimulates my thyroid being up
Yeah.
that high.
Yeah.
So like again, all things that's like I had no idea. And I also have a medical AI attached to this PH360 platform called Clea, and it's phenomenal. And that gives me even more detail into helping to create something that's right for somebody. And that's what how I came to find out some of this other stuff because it takes all
Wow.
my labs in, my DNA, and it's like, here's this, and I'll say, okay, here's what I'm thinking that I'm seeing with this client or with myself, and I'm doing all of these things, but could this be affecting this? And it'll be like, no, you're off there, or absolutely, you are spot on with what's happening, and this is why. And it tells you why.
Wow.
And ChatGPT
Amazing.
is not equipped for that.
Yeah.
So it's
It's
another
a, it's
step I take with clients.
it's amazing. It's like people take better care of their cars.
They do.
they,
They do.
they burn better gasoline. They put better fuel in their cars than they do in themselves. And so you said something earlier, and I think that kind of goes to maybe my next question too, is you talked about people having an
Hmm.
awareness of things that they're not aware of about who they are, how they're made, how their body reacts to certain fuels, and how they react to too much exercise.
Hmm.
And I think that kind of leads to the coaching philosophy you have, healthy awakening.
Hmm.
So
Yes.
kind of talk to us a little bit. Maybe you've kind of talked a little bit about this before. Um, is there someone, without naming names or anything specific, but someone that maybe a client that's really had this amazing story of transformation using some of this personalized precision approach to health and optimum life?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one thing I want to touch on first was where you just said about kind of us fitting into the foods that are right or the nourishment, but it's really about we are always trying to fit ourselves into the environment, right? Whether it's through
Mhm.
food, exercise, we're trying to adapt. Now, with what I do, we want to take us and figure out how do we make these things adapt to us.
Okay. I got
So
that.
that's a very different
Yeah.
way of looking at things. When you understand how your body reacts to specific environments, and different foods and different exercise, any stimulation, things like that,
Gotcha.
how
Gotcha.
the different health types think with different parts of their brain. I am very auditory and visual. For me to read, like I started this Bible study, they're like, okay, to read these things, and I'll read the same passage over and over, and I'm looking at it going, it's not clicking. And then you and I talked. I said I'm binging The Chosen. These passages are coming up, and I go, now I get it because I'm
Right.
seeing it. This is how I learn, right? Even though some of it's made up, there's other things in there that are very true. Or
Right.
I'll listen to verses or audiobooks, and that I understand better than reading it. So
Gotcha. Yeah.
again, these are things we want to understand. How do we learn best?
Right.
Because we're all different. So healthy awakening, and you had asked me, because now I'm trying to remember. What did you say? That healthy awakening.
Yeah, it's as your coaching philosophy, it's the approach that you have. Is there someone
Oh,
that
clients.
you've worked with? Yeah, a client that
Yeah.
just had some kind of amazing breakthrough that you'd want to share.
Yes, and do you know, I actually have had several of them on my podcast, because
Oh
it's raw.
wow.
Yeah, it's everyday epigenetics, raw, real, relatable. I want people to see that we're real people that this makes a difference with, right? And so I have another client, and I'll talk about him now. He's going to be coming on the podcast. We already recorded it. It'll be out, I believe, this month. His name is Cal. He's in his mid 60s. He worked with me. He and his wife worked with me prior, several years ago. It was like 2019, and we just dabbled in the PH360. I was brand new at it. We did the DNA, and he had lost a bit of weight, quite a bit of weight. We got rid of his gout,
Oh wow.
but he had a drinking issue,
Gotcha.
and it just was never addressed. And then he hit his rock bottom,
Mm.
and he went into rehab. I think he was inpatient for a while, and he called me. We've stayed in touch, and then he reached out to me in May of this year, and he said, "Okay, I just had labs done. I put my weight back on. I'm drinking like 5, 6 diet sodas a day."
Wow.
And he said, and now my doctor is sending me to a nephrologist, which is a kidney specialist. He is going to see me like July 18th. And he said, I've got beginning of kidney disease now
Oh my.
and prediabetes. I'm like, okay. And he goes, I am ready. He said, I've been sober for over 1,000 days. I'm ready to go. Whatever it's going to take, I'm ready now. Because again, now that awareness is here, right? He's
Yeah.
clear
Yeah.
headed and
Right.
ready to rock. And so we got him back, did all new measurements, went through the questionnaire, and all of these other types of doctors, when you see someone insulin resistant, says you need to go super low carb, drop all the carbs. Well, for his body, it's actually he needs to go very low protein because of the
Oh
kidney
wow.
issues,
Okay. Yeah.
and high veggies, specific ones, fruit, oatmeal. Who'd have thought? Like these are things people
Yeah.
go, no, no,
Yeah. This isn't low carb.
no, right? So within 2 weeks, we had his blood sugars down in the 80s
Oh my
from
goodness.
in the hundreds. And he is now, it's been, when was that? May, June, July, August, September, October, November, over 5 months working with me now. Uh, his blood sugar stays pretty consistent. He hasn't been, I don't think he's been over 100 yet. Sometimes he'll hit a high 90 if he
Hmm.
has something like pizza. But
Right.
he still every week sends me his foods for the week and what time he's doing them. And I might say, well, that would have been better at lunch. He eats a big
Right.
lunch, super light meal of dinner, once in a while, some protein, but veggies, mostly
Gotcha.
veggies.
Right. Right.
And has to move, get movement. And he's what we call a guardian. They run on prolactin, which is very nurturing. So he touches base with everybody. He's the caretaker. So he had to learn how to put himself first, but still be able to take care of people. And that's when his blood sugar goes up, and his stress is what drives that blood sugar also. is that will come into play, taking care of elderly parents or family issues. He
I
holds
got you.
that. Okay. So that
Ah,
increases glucose, but it's not the food. And that's what we'll see, that it's rarely the food. He even had birthday cake, his grandson's birthday cake, and he still stayed in the 90s the next morning.
wow.
Right. Went to the kidney specialist in July.
Hmm.
And he said the first thing he did was look at his ankles, because you can see when you have all that swelling in the ankles is a big one with
Yeah.
kidneys. He said the doctor looked down and was like, looked at his labs and was like, well, hell, I'll see you in a year.
Oh
So we
my goodness.
basically stopped it in its tracks within 6 weeks. He got off blood pressure meds in those 6 weeks. He checks his blood pressure every day. That's on his thing that he sends me he sends it weekly, but it's all on there for a week every day. The blood pressure is phenomenal. And so that's, I mean, and that's at 67. And when you talk about your podcast, if it's never too late, it's never too late, right?
Right. Right.
I've worked with younger people. I have a client in her 70s who needed to gain weight. She was over medicated on thyroid and hormone medications. And she was eating just like twice a day, right? The eating that kind of that keto.
Right.
Got her turned around. She was like 8 healthy pounds. And she's like, I feel phenomenal. Right. So it might not be you
Wow.
need weight loss. Cal's down 60 pounds in those 5 months. And he's
Wow.
like maintaining. Um,
It's
so
it's
I have so many, but you can go on. I have several clients on there that are very open about their journeys, and you'll see the majority of them were weight loss, and they had thyroid, hormone, insulin resistance. And with that insulin resistance, we're told to go keto. I have my very first client that came on. She was 8 years keto. She and her husband, her blood sugar started going up.
mhm,
And she's like, what the heck? This isn't supposed to happen.
right.
And it was all that saturated fat. We did her DNA too, and she wasn't processing saturated fat. It made her a higher risk with cardiovascular disease. So cut that down, went high veggie, moderate protein, and it was like, boom, huge change. And the
Oh my
husband
gosh.
worked with me too. And he should have been where she was like 2 to 3 meals a day. He needed like 5 meals a day, a
I
little
get
more
that.
protein and more
Yeah.
complex carbs. And he'd been keto. And he's like, my God, I think so much better now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
I can
have,
see that. Yeah.
hundreds of success stories, including myself, with all the things my body's been through. And, when I turned 60 last month, no, I didn't go out and eat. People like, eat cake, go have a drink. No, I went and did the Manitou Incline, which is 0.88 miles up with 2,000 feet of elevation gain. It's like 2,700 some steps
Wow.
up this mountain. And I took 6 minutes off my time that I did
Oh my
a
goodness.
year and a half ago.
So you don't just preach it. You
I
walk the
live it.
walk.
I
Yeah.
walk the walk. And there's a lot
Yeah.
of coaches that are like, well, everything in moderation. I have a podcast coming out that I did myself pretty soon on why everything in moderation doesn't work for some people. When you
Yeah.
have a body like mine, if you want to feel good, I'm just not willing to do something in moderation that's going to make me feel like crap. And
Yeah.
I want to be that example to my people that you have to make your decisions that are best for you and own them, but know how you want to feel. And
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
if I want to perform and I want to be able to leave this condo at any moment and go do a 10-mile hike at 10,000, 11,000 feet and feel good, or just go do 3 miles around the block,
Yeah.
it's quality of life. And if we don't have that quality of life, we literally have nothing. It doesn't matter how much you have in the bank. And it really is investing in yourself. And I loved what you said about the car. I had someone was going to work with me, and then they said, well, I'm going to go get a new car instead. Okay, well, when your vehicle doesn't work for you anymore and you have trouble getting into that car,
Right.
then you might
Right.
think twice. And it was an expensive vehicle.
Yeah.
And again, it's priorities. But if you don't prioritize yourself and you're waiting for the healthcare system to help you when it happens, you're going down the wrong road.
Yeah.
Because being reactive is not where you want to be nowadays, and it's going to be a lot more expensive.
No, and I hear it from you. We were talking before the podcast, before the podcast. and I always love doing that too because it gives a chance for us to connect. But I think
Yeah.
the thing, said, well, I think you said, well, I didn't, we're talking about courage, having courage to do things. And, honestly, I gotta kind of push back a little bit because I think it takes a lot of courage to change your life when you've had a habit of a pursuit for so long, or you have to step out and do something you've never done before. I think that takes a lot of courage. That doesn't mean that you have to be, I'm courageous and I'm a superhero.
Right.
It means,
Right.
and I think for your clients, it sounds like for some of them, um, you talk about the person who hit rock bottom, and then had
Mhm.
the courage to say, I'm going to do something different.
Yep.
Um, but the thing is it doesn't take, Jesus says it only takes the faith of a mustard seed. That's all it takes. I think it only takes the courage of a mustard seed to actually make change in your life that's lasting. And what you're doing, and I love the work that you're doing. And
Thank
in
you.
the show notes, we're definitely going to put links to your website, your podcast, and to all the wonderful things you're doing, because I think you need to have the courage of a mustard seed to change your life.
You
And
do.
you're giving people the tools to do that.
Thank you. And I want to clarify a couple things here. So my health type, the activator, we love change.
Mm.
I lived so many different places trying to find where I found home. And I would just pick up and go, and they're like, how do you do this? Now I realize that it's how I'm created. I'm dynamic, right? I like that
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
But you have, and there's a couple of us that do really well with change, a couple of health types. And
Yeah.
then you have others that are routine and comfort and safety.
Yeah.
And those are the people that I tend to see the most of
Hmm.
because it's taken them so long to get to this point, right? Where I feel
Yeah.
that change, I'm like, I got to do something now because I'm action oriented.
Yeah.
And they're not. Some of them will have more activator in them, depending on the number.
Yeah. Yeah.
They'll have more of that in there and they'll have more of that get up and go. But others, I really have to take my time with them and know that it has to be in their time frame. They have to be ready. If they're
Right.
even on a consult going, I need to think on this. Yeah, you do. Because if you're not
Yeah.
ready, it's
Right.
not going to work because you're going to have to come out of that comfort zone a bit. So for some people, that change, they might need more like a pumpkin seed, where some of us are good with the mustard seed, but
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
them, that pumpkin seed is the size of a football to them in their mind,
Right. Right.
what needing to get that move. But if I can get them to where they're ready to just take one movement, that's what they're usually my slower
One
goal
small
setters.
step. One
They're
small step.
further in the future goal setting where I'm like, don't ask me further than this month, right? Where then they're like, but I know where I want to be in a year. I'm just afraid to make the move, right? So like
Yeah.
I want to get them start, let's pick something, one thing you can do.
Yeah.
What's that? What's this thing with your profile? What's one thing? And it might be, let me switch up the timing of my meals. I have
Yeah.
a new guy, and I'll tell you this really quickly. He's in the UK. He said, I found your podcast and I got hooked. How can I work with you? And he just started. I onboarded him 2 weeks ago. And then I think it was last week, had his first actual session. So he just kind of dabbled with the foods. And he's like, I eat my Weetabix cereal every day. And I go, yeah, no.
Weetabix.
And then he eats a sandwich at lunch and then pasta at dinner. And I'm going, and he has autoimmune. And I go, and I'm thinking this is probably not ideal for you. And we looked in the profile and it's not, and he's like, okay, vegetables, meat. And I said, if you're going to have your starchy, stay away from the wheat stuff right now because I
Right.
worked with so much autoimmune because I have autoimmune. So I know that's a driver there. So let's look at other things in your profile that we could put in there. He just dabbled and he's like,
Ah.
my skin feels better. He said, I had a 97% sleep recovery score. And he said, Susan, I've never had that in my life. And that
Wow.
was in like 5 days of just messing around with the profile. So I said, okay, and then we set goals. Like, what do you need to work on until we meet again? And he picked just a couple of things that he said were doable for him. But yeah, like that's how quick when you dial in, those changes can start to come about. And
Oh
then I have
yeah.
another one she's been with me for 2 years. And I love her and I don't want her to go away, but she should, but I don't. And I just love her. But it's been everything but the food. And she is blossoming. Her soul is just blossoming so much. She
Mm.
has discovered, she's like, I realize this is such me as the diplomat. Um, that a lot of this has been things she's been holding
Uh-huh.
because she didn't feel ready to fly and let herself out yet. And she's had all these epiphanies, and now it's finally all coming together. And so some
Oh my
people, it
gosh.
takes longer,
Yeah.
and others are just like right out the box.
Yeah.
So we are all so unique. And that's why I love what I do, because I get to see the uniqueness in people. And I have a hard time with listening to other quote experts with these one size fits alls that I'm going, no, not my
No,
people. Would that
no,
this would
because
crush my guardians, my
no,
diplomats.
because this is we're all so unique. And that's kind of what I think I like about this story is that a lot of the folks that I'm talking to and I'm bringing them on the podcast have had similar journeys where they've rediscovered a path that has always been gnawing on them, or maybe they discovered it along the way. And part of that is you watch them, like you said, they blossom the moment they start
Yeah.
getting on the path that they're called to be on.
Yep.
And I could certainly see that with you. I see that you're, and you could see it. And we talked about this earlier, is that the energy and the passion, and when you're on that path you're supposed to be on, and maybe the path changes, and you got to be
Sure.
flexible. Yeah, it does every day. Like,
Sure.
you know,
Absolutely. It changes.
I told my coach the other day, I said, I'm on this path right now. I'm doing this thing. I'm not flying actively right now, but I got a feeling in the next year there's going to be a transition. She goes, Eric, there's always a transition with you. And you know what? We're part of a generation where that's okay. My parents,
Yeah.
you said this earlier, my parents, it was like you get a job, you stay with the company for all your life, you retire, blah, blah, blah. But it's so cool to be at a place in life where you can go, you know what? I've got a new sample coming along. It's time for some change, and I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
Let's do it, So
Exactly. Exactly.
very
It's
cool.
funny. I had a consult with a high school friend last year, or last week, and she's retired after, like, it was like 38 years. It was a long time. And she said, I don't know what to do with myself. Like, I'm
Mm,
not sure what to do. And I said, you're totally out of flow, because her body type, I know exactly what she is. I'm like, you need purpose.
yeah,
And
yeah,
she's like, I do. And I don't know what it is. And you see that with a lot of people that do retire. And they say
yep,
people will tend to decline health
yes,
wise
I've
after
seen it.
retirement, because a
Hmm.
lot of times they don't have purpose, they don't know what to
Right.
do, and they sit around. And then you have the others that are like, now I know what I'm going to do in retirement, and
Yeah,
I'm going to play, do the things that feed my soul. And you'll see some of those will tend to do really well. But
yeah,
the majority have a hard time with transitioning into, what do I do now? And
right,
they've been at the same thing for so long, and not trying to, not looking for what really brings them joy,
right.
that they don't even
Yep.
know what brings them joy. And I said, this is kind of a gift, because
Yeah,
now you have the opportunity and the time to look for what fills you,
yeah, yeah,
right? Without a
yeah,
schedule. Like that,
yeah.
I wish. I'd be finding more things, hiking more mountains. I know exactly what I'd do if I retired.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. I mean, but I think what's really interesting, Susan, I think in a weird kind of way, you and I are kind of we're doing similar types of work, and I'm doing similar works as a priest, was trying to help people discover spiritually. That's what I was doing, and what I continue to do is spiritually. I'm trying to help people to discover the path that they've been called to be on, and that's where they
Mhm.
find joy and peace. And you said that earlier, and I love that.
Absolutely.
Peace and
Peace.
joy and purpose are all the same.
Oh,
PJP.
yes.
That's my new thing. PJP. Peace, joy, and purpose. All
I love
right.
it. I love it.
So our time's coming kind of close. I've
Yep.
really enjoyed this. I'm definitely going to have folks come check out your website and your podcast. I'm continuing to listen to it. It's on my list. I listen to you on Spotify, so I'll definitely want to
Awesome.
continue. Yeah. Definitely want to do that. So, all right. So I want to jump into a little bit here if I can, because I do think you're a person of great courage, whether you want to admit it or not. So, but this is my lightning round where I ask just some fun questions just to kind of bring our
Okay.
time together to a close. You ready for the first one?
Yes.
Can you think of a mentor or a teacher who shaped your journey?
You know, God. And I know that might sound hokey to some people, sorry, but
Not to
I,
me.
you had, you had kind of put that question into my head before. And I thought so much on it. And I've had people mentor me. I mean, Dr. Cam has been fantastic with PH360, and I've had other people come in that have been great. But when I look back, I see this as the one person that never left me and that really has guided me it's literally saved me from death several times.
Yeah.
But has I realize has been like my best friend,
Yeah.
um, and made such a huge difference in my life, especially
That's wonderful.
these past several months, with
Yeah.
the hardest year of one of the hardest year of my life. And it's he's a constant,
Yeah.
that you can
Absolutely.
call on at any time that brings you peace,
Yeah.
right?
I agree.
And so that's been huge for me.
My favorite story from scripture is the story of the prodigal son or daughter, but it's the son in this case because of the culture that was in. But the father, even though the son left and did his thing, and went out and blah, blah, blah. And the father's always sitting on the front porch just waiting for the son to come back, and when he comes back, the father did something that no man from first century Palestine would have done. He hikes up his skirt, his dress, whatever, his robe, and
Yeah.
runs towards his son. That was not something culturally they did. He ran to the son saying, didn't condemn him. Hey, my son was gone. He's back. Let's party. And when I think about that, as God he's always waiting for us, even if we don't take the full detour, we just go away and do something. He's
Oh
always
yeah.
waiting for us to come back. So anyway,
Oh yeah. I detoured.
I
I
did too.
detoured several times, but you realize like he was always calling me back. I just
Yeah.
never listened
Yeah. Yeah.
until now.
Always.
And then it
Always.
was like, oh my gosh, do you have to hit me harder over the head? I'm here. I've got it.
I
Let's
got
do
it. I'm
this.
back. I'm back. Let's go. And he's
Yeah.
always waiting. All right.
Yeah.
Here's a couple more.
Okay.
Uh, a quote or a piece of wisdom that stuck with you.
Okay. This is one of my favorites. And I don't know who said this, but he says, someone once told me the definition of hell was on your last day on earth, the person you became meets the person you could have become.
Oh wow.
Is it
Oh,
right? That's like gives you
can
goosebumps.
can you say that again? I got to write that down.
On your last the definition of hell on your last day on earth, the person you became meets the person you could have become. And I think we, out of fear, so much of the time, unnecessary fear, of the unknown, of what people think, whatever it is, these things hold us back from being all that we could be. And
Yeah.
I've been guilty of it. And that's why, like I said, I started the podcast and I'm like, this is actually fun. I remember the first podcast, first probably several I did last year, because I recorded like 7 in the first week. And afterwards, I remember like crying after them and just thinking, my gosh, I'm going to be potentially having hundreds of people and eventually there'll be thousands of people hear me and tear me
Yeah.
apart and disagree.
Oh
Okay, that
yeah.
means I'm
Yeah.
doing something right. Bring on the haters.
Exactly.
But it's a really humbling experience to do this. So kudos to you for having a new one and saying, I want to do this and do it. But whatever it is in life, when we meet ourselves, who we should have been, what did we do? And what did we not
Uh,
do? And I found a guy I hiked this summer. It was up near, it was over 11,000 feet. And there's a man sitting up there and he was with a younger gal and I started talking to them. He was 82 years old. He did a 14,000 foot hike,
oh my
a
goodness.
14,000 foot peak the day before. And he's up here doing this one. This was a shorter one, but it's still a nice little uphill. And I said, can I interview you? Like, I just want to find out because you're 82 years old, but yet you're up here and people complain and bitch and moan, but you're here. And one of the most profound things he said was like, I'm trying to remember the quote, was it, if you're not happy, who do you have to blame?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's
Right. And
good.
he said the first thing he does when he wakes up is he thanks God for another day. And
Yeah.
then he goes outside and watches the sun come up and gets moving. He's also a little activator.
Yeah.
And he said, and then I just, live my day through God and
Yeah.
just enjoy life and
Yeah.
move. And he goes, he said, I don't eat crappy things. I eat good food and I don't drink alcohol. And I was just like, wow. Um, and look at his quality of life.
Yeah. He's living. The thing I think we miss a lot in today is what he's exuding is gratitude and empathy.
Yeah.
Gratitude and empathy. I want to take your quote and I want to change it a little bit. Just the priest in
Okay.
me, just for fun, is the definition of heaven is on our last day on earth. The person that we became is actually the person that you could have been all along.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Isn't that something?
Yeah. Now, and in heaven, you're accepted for that and you're still loved regardless,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But
yeah,
we're given this vessel for this time
yeah,
we have on earth. Why are we squandering it?
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. It's one of the best gifts we've been given is the gift that we have of ourselves to give to others. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
another
man.
quote I heard, I've been reading or doing the audiobook because I drive to hike and stuff, so I'm always listening. And it's The Purpose Driven Life
Yes.
by Rick
Yes.
Warren.
Yep.
And he was saying how, everybody says, live this as if the tomorrow is the first day of the rest of your life. And he's like,
Hmm.
we should be living like this is the last day of our life because we never know.
Yeah.
Why are we not living it to the fullness? Why are
Yeah.
we waiting? I'm waiting to go on vacation before I take care of myself. Yeah, not going
Mm-mm.
to happen.
Right.
Then you're going to come back from vacation. And I guarantee you're going to be sick because you're going to be stressed again right out the way.
Right. Right.
And now
Right.
we're in cold and flu season, which all cold and flu season is sugar and booze season and poor
Right.
choices, lack of sleep and stress. That's
And
what this season is. And
and
it
time
starts with
change.
Halloween and the time
And time
change,
and time
right?
change.
Starts with Halloween and it goes through New Year's. Does it have
Absolutely.
to be that way? Why do some of us not get sick? Because I don't go off of my regular way of life
Yep.
because I want to feel good. If I'm going to go celebrate, I want to feel good and go, I don't want to move the next day or I have to leave early or whatever. Why do you want to feel like crap in January 1st? Like, is
Right.
it worth it?
Yeah. And then go
Ask
spend money
yourself.
on a gym membership you're not going to use. Right.
Thinking that's going to fix everything, right? You're still going to,
Right.
I'm going to go home and take the Snickers out of the fridge I've been hiding and I'm going to continue to eat them, but I'm going to
Oh,
Oh,
I love
no
it. I love it.
judgment. No judgment, people,
No
for those of
judgment.
you who do that.
No
I did it,
judgment.
but I used to hide my stepkids' Reese's. Any
All right. This is so good. Susan, I got one last question for you. I ask this of every
yes.
guest.
Okay.
So you're sitting with someone who's facing a major change in their life. Maybe they feel lost or uncertain about what's next. What encouragement or advice would you give them?
Now again, this is going to differ per the person. For someone like me, I'd say, give me a piece of action you can do that's going to make you feel like you're taking a step in a better direction.
Mm-hmm.
For someone else, I might say, why don't you pray on it? Or why don't you meditate on
Mm-hmm.
that? Do some quiet time, sit with it. Others like to journal,
Mm-hmm.
right? Maybe journal on where you're feeling this struggle. If you can figure out where it's coming from, because we're all driven by different things. So when you can figure that out about you, but I also say, like, what's one small thing you can do that could make a difference to just find that sense of peace around this? Is it movement? Is it prayer? Is it journaling, meditation, quieting the mind? Is it talking with someone? A couple of types. If they run that by other people and get that input, that brings them a sense of peace. So, and you'll intuitively know what works best for you.
Yeah.
So whatever you tend to be drawn to, don't fight it. Don't think, oh my gosh, I'm needy. I'm going to bother somebody by asking their opinion. That's not it at all. You know that you need that connection. If you're like journaling stupid, but I want to write it, right? You can rip it up if you
Yeah.
don't want, but
Yeah.
getting those thoughts out somehow, however you process, do it and just feel into your body. Close your eyes, and this works for anybody. Close your eyes nice and still and tune into how you feel and ask the question. Where is it? What is this issue where you might be feeling stuck or not understanding what's next? And give two options. Now, if I do this choice, if I move this way, say it like, if I choose to take this job, how does your body react?
Yeah.
Does
Yeah.
it, do you automatically get like, do you feel that stomach kind of tense? Or if you say, should I stay at this job? and you feel a sense of peace and relaxation, not comfort to not make a change, because you might not like that job, right?
Yeah.
And it feels uncomfortable. Listen, because our bodies tell us, our souls tell us. So feel into it. Tune into you.
Tune into you. I like that. And I also like that part. It says, what's one small thing you can do to make a difference? Whatever that might be. I love it.
Ever.
Yeah, I love it. Staying in tune with who you are and to your body. I love it. I love it. Susan, I want to thank you for taking some time. I know you're very busy. You have a wonderful podcast. You got a great coaching ministry, I'll call it, because ministry is where you're bringing your greatest gifts to the world's greatest needs. And it sounds like you're doing that every single day. So I know it, but I really appreciate you taking some time to be on the podcast. I'll make sure in the show notes that we have links to your website, healthyawakening.co. That's CO. And Everyday Epigenetics podcast is on Spotify. And where else can they find you? On iTunes?
It's on all the major podcasts. If you go to, you can find on my website, or if you just go to everydayepigenetics.co, it'll take you right to the podcast page, and you can look up all of them. And I always suggest start with episodes 1 and 2. It'll give you the background on the pH 360 and the science and the health types. And it's really phenomenal. It's a great way to kind of start getting into the podcast, and then have at it.
Fantastic. Susan, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here. Listeners, thanks again for tuning in to Never Too Late, real stories of reinvention, having the courage to go out and chase your dreams. We try to put a podcast out every single week now with a full interview with one of our guests. Also starting to try to put out a teaser, so you should have materials that you can listen to on Never Too Late every single week. So I have a little teaser episode for the upcoming episode, and then the full episode comes the week after that. You can check us out on Never Too Late on Spotify, iHeart, iTunes, all those same things that Susan was talking about. You can find us out there. Also on YouTube as well. So
same here.
Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you for having me on. It's been so much fun.
Thanks, Susan. Appreciate it. You'll stay with me.